Now, right at the start here, I should say that I'm clearly not the target audience for Forces of Destiny, which is the new series of animated shorts put out by Disney that is intended for younger viewers. Nevertheless, as someone who consumes all things canon, and with this series being considered canon, I did watch them, and I can say that they were okay for the most part. I, of course, did think some episodes were better than others, with my favorite one probably being the one with Wicket and Leia, where we learn how she got the Ewok celebration outfit. And no, not knowing how or why she was wearing that when the others showed up to Bright Tree Village wasn't keeping me up at night, nor did finally learning out the story behind it enhance my understanding or appreciation of Star Wars in any way, but it was still a cool and fun idea for a 3-minute short. The one that bothered me the most, however, was the one with Jin where she helped save a little girl's loth cat, which seemed way out of character, especially if you've read the book Rebel Rising, because at this time in her life, the last thing Jin would have ever done is risk being found out and captured by the Empire, especially over a cat of all things. And yes, again, I get that this was a show for kids and all, and I know I'm going to sound like I'm nitpicking or complaining about nothing important really, but if you're going to make this show canon, which means this is theoretically the same Jin I saw in Rogue One and that I read about in Rebel Rising, then they should really try and stay as true to the character as possible. However, I do have a personal way I try to rectify all these little inconsistencies, if you will, and that's by pretending Star Wars, all of these stories from different sources, whether they're from the movies, books, cartoons, games, or whatever, truly did happen a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and that they're all just representations of actual events, and that the events have been put into story form and tailored to fit the medium in which it's being told and be appropriate for its intended audiences. Take the little story of Jin helping save a cat, for example. Yes, as I said, it seems to go against what we've learned about the character elsewhere, so maybe that's not exactly what happened, but since this event is being told via a cartoon intended for children, the story of what truly happened got watered down a bit and became a simple issue with a cat instead of what it really was, which was actually far more serious. Perhaps what really happened did involve a girl's cat in some respect, but it also involved the stormtroopers threatening to arrest or even shoot the girl on the spot for something she or her cat did. And it's this that actually made the usually cautious Jin step up and take action when she would have normally turned the other cheek. But again, since the story is for kids, it gets altered to be about Jin just saving a girl's cat. But if this event ever got told again within a book for adults, we might learn the real version, or one far closer to the truth than what we got in this cartoon. Because, as I look at it, we never get the full and correct story no matter where we see or read the story from. Not even the movies get the actual version of events and what was said by the people who took part in them 100% right. And that's because there is almost always embellishment or slight alterations whenever a story is being retold. And this is the rule I use to explain to myself why sometimes the novelizations of the movies have slightly different dialogue or versions of events from the movies themselves. And that's because they're both telling the same story based on actual events that happened, but what exactly happened or was said has been lost in time. So they're just approximations, if you will. Just like any movie or book based on a true story is an approximation of what really happened, not an exact carbon copy of them, which also means they can be skewed one way or another by the one telling the story, or again, altered for its intended target to be more suitable, especially when the intended audience is younger. And, just to be clear here, I don't really think Star Wars, and all these events we watch and read about, really happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. This is just my way of looking at it, and trying to make all of these stories, coming from vastly different sources sometimes, all blend together into one history, if you will. It may sound ridiculous to you, but it helps my enjoyment of all things Star Wars. Because I also understand that shows like Forces of Destiny exist because Star Wars is something intended for audiences of all ages. And if they want to say they're canon, that's fine by me, because I'll just go on assuming that they're loosely based off real Star Wars events, and that works for me. As for other issues people may or may not have with Forces of Destiny, like its effort to focus on strong female characters in Star Wars, well, my only real problem with it is they seem to have forgotten there's more than one way to be strong. Because, more or less, all they showed in these episodes were these characters kicking some ass. But for me, one of my favorite moments in all of Star Wars is in The Empire Strikes Back. And it's when Leia is briefing the pilots at Echo Base right before the Battle of Hoth. You know, when she tells them they have to get in their speeders and fight frickin' AT-ATs before, assuming they survive, they have to get in their small fighters and escort the transports past a blockade of Star Destroyers. And that one pilot then questions her and is like, 2 fighters against a Star Destroyer? And the way he says it lets us all know that he thinks this woman's crazy right now. But Leia doesn't let it rattle her in the least, and she continues to give them the orders and makes them believe they can even pull this off. And to me, that wasn't a strong female character. That was just a strong character, period. And personally, I see Leia as the epitome of a strong female character, not because she blasted some stormtroopers from time to time and choked and killed Jabba, but because of the loyalty, leadership, and perseverance she showed throughout the original trilogy. Because of the way she stood her ground and wasn't afraid to talk back to Tarkin and Vader in A New Hope, two of the most terrifying figures the Empire had to offer. Yes, she could kick ass when she needed to, and she was great at that, but it wasn't what made her great or strong. And I do hope that we get a glimpse of that amazing strength one last time in The Last Jedi. And I do hope that some way, somehow, Disney and Lucasfilm can give us more female characters with the type of inner strength that Leia had, and the type that kids should be truly admiring and attempting to imitate. Well, that's all I got for you this time. Now it's your turn to tell me what you think. Have you watched Forces of Destiny, and what did you think of it? Let me know in the comments below, and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.